And that was John Bolton there. We're now joined by Negar Mortazavi, and she is the Washington correspondent for Iran International. Thanks for joining us. What is your reaction to the latest developments, let's say, over the last 24 hours?
Well, it's important that Foreign Minister Zarif has decided to go to China before his visit to Europe. That shows a strategic partnership between Iran and China, and also an extension with Russia, who are the other two important parties to the negotiations and to the deal, and who are interested in holding it basically together with the help of the Europeans. The Europeans somehow fall in between the two spaces, the US and also Iran's Asian counterparts. And I think at the end of the day, what the Europeans are going to do in reaction to President Trump's exit or violation of the deal is going to be the major step at this point, basically determining what the Iranian next step would be.
So in terms of support from China, Russia, the EU, where does Iran stand at this point?
Well, the Iranians are saying that if Iran can get its economic benefits that it expected under the deal from European and Asian companies, it is interested in holding the deal together, basically continuing to contain the nuclear program. And also, it's important to know that American companies were not really allowed to do business with Iran anyways, except for one deal with Boeing, the aviation company. But the U.S. sanctions that are promised to be reimposed are on European and also Asian companies at what fears the Iranians most. If European companies and Asian companies start having second thoughts, that would be the determining factor for Iran.
We just hear John Bolton there saying that he believes that, obviously the U.S. will reimpose these sanctions. Does that work in Iran's favor in some way by infuriating the U.S.'s allies, like in the EU?
Well, I think the U.S.'s unilateral exit from the deal has created a wide gap between U.S. and its European allies. But then at the same time, this is the world's largest economy. The U.S. has the world's most powerful economy. And these European companies, not just governments, I mean, you can hear all kinds of political statements coming from the European Union saying they can protect European companies. But when it comes to making a decision between doing business with the world's largest, strongest economy and an economy like Iran, which is just a fraction of that kind of business, I think that would be a difficult choice for Europeans and also for certain Asian companies.
So we know that Zarif said on his Twitter page that Trump's extremist administration, he called them out for abandoning this accord, which he recognizes a victory for diplomacy for the entire international community. What is your reaction to his statement?
I think the nuclear deal was a diplomatic victory. It was 2 years of a continuation of a decade of unsuccessful negotiations and then 2 years of successful negotiations. It did tackle a very narrow issue, which was just a nuclear program. And President Trump is not alone in being concerned about other issues like Iran's missile program, Iran's adventures in the Middle East.
It's up more than 40% since the Obama administration.
But the deal was supposed to only tackle the nuclear program, and it did succeed in that issue and in bringing all these countries together and basically coming to an agreement. And it was working for 2 years, according to the international community, to the European Union, even to the U.S., according to the U.S. State Department. Iran was abiding by the agreement.
Ayatollah al-Khamenei said last week that he was highly doubtful that Europe will provide the real guarantees needed to stay in. Do you believe that's still true today?
I think so. Actually, to much surprise, Ayatollah Khamenei didn't come out very strongly against the U.S. exit. Everybody expected him to be, expected a lot more backlash from the hardliners. He said if the Europeans are, he's skeptical, but if the Europeans are able to provide guarantees, Iran would abide by the deal, which is a little more in line on what the moderates, basically echoing what President Rouhani is saying. But we have to wait and see how much Europeans can actually do that, basically resisting U.S. sanctions and abiding to the deal from an Iranian perspective.
When do you think we'll know more over the next week or so?
Hopefully in the next week or so.
All right.
Or maybe even longer.
All right. Well, Negar Mortazavi, thank you so much.